Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the podcast today, we have Sonny Von Cleveland. Sonny, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. My name's Sonny Von Cleveland. I am the director of Itopia Coaching and Consulting, a motivational speech and mindset coaching company. I am the general manager of Frisky Business, Palm Springs Cat Cafe, the upcoming Cat Cafe in Palm Springs, California. I'm from a small town in Michigan. I'm a childhood sexual abuse survivor. I was abused by 4 men from the ages of 5 until I was 10. I was convicted of my first felony at the age of 7. I went to prison at 16, and I spent 18 years incarcerated in the Michigan Department of Corrections, at which point I spent a little over 19 months in solitary confinement and just over 14,000 hours of self-mastery study to teach myself that there's nothing you can't get past in your life. There's nothing you can't get through, no walls you can't break down, and there's no reason to not live the life of your dreams every single day. And so I took all those experiences and taught myself to propel forward. And now I use that to teach other people that I come into contact with, my clients. I help get them unstuck from the rut that they're stuck in, develop empowering beliefs, and eliminate sabotaging behaviors.
That is one hell of an intro, Sonny.
Right. It's been one hell of a life.
I mean, when I first did the prep and our conversation, I was like, two feelings came up for me. One was like I was so sorry that you had to go through all that. Like my heart hurt on your behalf. And then the other side of me was like just, blood boiling in terms of how you could be exposed to that sort of thing. I mean, you mentioned in your introduction that you're using it as a way to, let's say, prove to other people that they can get past it. Did you do how long did it take you to come to that conclusion?
Well, I mean, it was definitely a process. I was given a 5-year sentence in the hole, but ultimately, because of the self-work that I was doing and the essays I was writing and the workbooks that I was doing, I was able to get that reduced down after 19 months and get released. But I would say it took a good 3 to 4 months before I was able to completely I had to go through every emotion known to man. I had to face everything that I've been through. I had to go through the phases of blaming myself, of blaming my victimizers, of determining in my heart whether or not it did still bother me. Was I a bad kid? Did I like it? Did I enjoy it? Did I bring it on to myself? You go through all of those emotions, and it took probably, I'd say, good 30 to 60 days, maybe 3 months, probably 90 days to really break that down, and then realize that here I am. I'm in this space where nothing exists but myself, and every emotion that I've experienced, I've worked through and processed. I've cried my eyes out. I've been stressed. I've been depressed. I've gone through everything, been angry. And then at that point, that's the true rock bottom in life, to where you can now rebuild. You can either get up and just continue on, or you can build. And I come to find in that moment that I have the ability to shape my personality to the way that I want to. And I can be whoever I want and accomplish whatever you want in life. And that started to show through.
And the 60 to 90 days, you said, is that like pure time of doing only that?
Yeah.
Only spending time thinking on that?
Well, I met a Muslim man named Mallory Bey who was across the cell from me. So the way the solitary confinement works is it's a hallway with cells on either side, and they're kind of just off balance each other a little bit. They're not directly across, so they're kind of staggered down the line. And I'm at the very end in this particular instance of the hallway, and then right across the hallway, just out a sliver of the window, you can see the guy across the hall, and it was a Muslim man named Mallory Bay. And for the first week or so, he would yell over there every day, would call over to me. And I was so angry and so mad. I would cuss him out and shut up, leave me alone, blah, 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 cussing him out. But he kept doing it every day. And finally, I just, you start getting bored and you get lonely. So I'm like, what do you want to talk about? And he hit me with like, what is your passion in life? And to me, it was like, what do you care? What do you care what my passion in life is? But I couldn't answer the question. I didn't have a passion. And he, over the course of the next 60 days to 90 days, helped me break that down. And, he would talk about something important in my life, bring up the emotion, talk about the victimization. I have nothing to lose. You might as well talk about it, get it off your chest. If you actually speak the words that'll make you feel better. So I basically dumped my whole life on this man, and he helped me to exercise the emotion of it. I would tell him something traumatic, one of the incidents with my uncle or one of the other men that molested me. And he would say, all right, now go sit down and think about it, cry, work it out. And then he'd leave me alone. He wouldn't talk to me for a few more hours. And so I'd go sit there and I'd get the emotion out. I'd cry or whatever and be angry and blame something. I'd yell, I'd scream. There's nobody here. So you go for it. And yeah, man, the dude really showed me the way to doing that, and then started sending books over for me to read. Like, oh, here's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Read that. Here's Think and Go Rich by Napoleon Hill. Think that. Here's the John C. Maxwell series. Read that.
So almost like a form of therapy in a way.
Right. And the funny, he didn't like me. We didn't like each other. Normally, he was a very magnanimous human being and saw an opportunity to instill the wisdom and knowledge that he had picked up over his life and help me to learn the same techniques. And maybe it was just an experiment for him, but he saved my life. He absolutely gave me the keys to unlocking that to rebuild myself.
Well, one of the thoughts I've had about prison, I don't know why, but you have these strange thoughts about, if ever I ended up in prison for some reason, how would I be? How would that look? And my thoughts were that you'd kind of have to be, in order to survive, you'd have to be a different person than you are now. Is that a accurate depiction, or is what your thoughts there?
Nowadays you don't. Nowadays it's a double-edged sword, because if you were armed with the knowledge that I have going to prison, you'd be fine. But in order to acquire that knowledge, you kind of have to go to it to do it. So when I went in there, I was 16. I was this skinny kid from the country. I didn't know anything about jail life or being locked up or gangs or any of that. And so I'm covered with tattoos. I have tattoos all over. And you would think that I like tattoos, or I'm a tattoo aficionado, but it was a defense mechanism and a protective shield, because the first week I was in prison, I was raped. And I was that moment I said, all right, I'm never going to be a victim ever again. I've been victimized as a child my whole life. This incident just happened. And I something in me broke. I think something in me snapped at that point, and I just started to get tattoos, whatever they were. I want them everywhere that they're really visible so people can see. I need to put on this demeanor. I started working out. I got very violent, got very mean, joined gangs. I put aside any fear for my own physical safety, and just I had resolved that this is what my life is going to be. And the only way I'm going to not get hurt anymore is to hurt everybody around me. So that was the mindset that I took on. And it's an unfortunate thing, because a lot of people that go to prison aren't necessarily bad people. They're not criminals. like convicts. We distinguish between inmates and convicts. Inmates are people that just go to jail. They don't really know what they're doing. Convicts are seasoned criminals that, that know how to navigate this. And so a lot of times you'll see guys that are just there on a child support case, or something dumb like a probation violation or something, and they're not cut out for prison life. And this, I was not cut out for prison life. And this is the result of taking a child and that is not cut out for it and putting them into it. I was the result of that, because I did 5 years and they let me go. When I was 21, they just opened the doors and were like, good luck, go for it. Gave me $75 and 3 condoms. And I'm like, good luck. Like, well, what do you think's going to happen? I was 21, violent as hell, had the world against me, carried all this anger and hate and shame. And now I programmed myself to be this really violent, gangbanging individual that cared nothing about the world or anything but myself and what I could get. So when I'm out at 21, I'm reckless. And I was only out for maybe 22 months. I started to rob drug dealers, committed a lot of crimes. And eventually that caught back up with me. And this time they were like, well, apparently you didn't learn the first time. Well, your perception of the obvious is amazing. I didn't learn anything. Of course I didn't. I was 16. I had no family, no friends, no support, nobody teaching me anything. You just threw me in here and wished me luck. And so they gave me 12 more years, and I went back for those 12. And through that time, that's when I went to the hole, and things turned around.
I'm so sorry, Sonny. It's
okay. If everything that had ever happened in my life hadn't happened, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, Thomas. Well, I wouldn't be in the position I am in life, which is a pretty good position.
Whenever anyone comes on the show and they say that they've been through some serious hardship, I mean, not quite the same as you, but I always have to ask, if someone was either going through that or was about to go through that in the instance of prison, so both what you experienced as a child and then also perhaps about to go into prison, what do you tell them in terms of either advice or something that you can share with them?
Don't panic. Read. Take advantage of the situation that's coming. The prison can be a horrible place, but it can also be a land of education and opportunity. If you learn how to take advantage of it, and the United States has, I'm not going to say the worst prisons, because there's some really horrible prisons in some other countries, but it's one of the more harsher sentencing countries in the world. Most other prisons or countries like Canada or the UK or Finland, for example. Finland has an amazing prison system. You don't go for half of your life for a crime. they you know what I mean? The United States, it's a cattle farm. All that is here is a cattle farm. It's a money grab in a financial gains institution. That's all it is. They don't care about the person. They just put them in as long as they possibly can, because they make money every day that you're sitting in that cell. So you go in with that knowledge. Understand that you're just a number, and you're a paycheck for all the people that work that own the prisons, and take advantage of it. There's a library there for your use. Stay the hell away from people. Mind your own business, and they're not going to come attack you for no reason. Most times when somebody gets stabbed, beat up, jumped, or gets their ass whooped in prison, something happened to cause that. And that's, sometimes there are innocent victims. There are innocent people that did nothing, and they do get assaulted or they do get attacked. That's just the law of the land. You're in the jungle. So just keep your head down and keep focused, and don't panic. It's not Shawshank Redemption.
And what do you think of that film?
I thought it was a great film. I absolutely loved it. I watched a lot of those prison films in the county jail, the guys are in there trying to prep you for it. And, oh man, this is going to happen. So let's watch this movie. Let's watch this movie. And so you take that and it scares the shit out of you. And then you get there and you're like, well, this ain't so bad. I mean, it's not that, but it does have its moments. It's if you don't pay attention and you're not aware of your surroundings, that's when things can get bad. For me, it was, I don't know gang politics. I never knew how to do time. So I'm a curious kid. Every time I go in, if I see anybody in a conflict or an argument, I want to watch it. What's going on over there? I'm like a train wreck. Can't look away, which is a big no-no in prison. You don't stare off into somebody else's conversation. You don't watch them because that's going to invite them to what you're looking at, you know, and it's not Shawshank, but Shawshank was a great movie.
So in terms of when you got the books, the self-development books, the way I phrase it in terms of how self-development changes you is like you're immersing yourself and you're changing yourself as a person to the point where you change your attitude and your outlook towards things. How long did that take for you, and what do you recall anything about how you were influenced in that time?
Well, I think it's a never-ending process, to be honest. I think we never stop growing. We have an infinite capacity to learn. And so I learn new things every day. But I think probably 6 months into being in the hole is when I had pounded through some solid books, the L Factor, I think it was called The Fred Factor by Mark Sanborn, I think. My biggest problem is I don't remember a lot of the books that I read, but I get there. I think about 6 months in is when I started to write the essays, which my first project that Mallory Bay had given me after I read the litany of books that he sent me was to write my own obituary. And that's where I started to really break down things, because if you write your own obituary and you take a serious approach to it, it took me, I think, 3 weeks and like 5 different writings to get it right. But if you write it down, you've given yourself a roadmap to your goals in life. If you write it from the perspective of 5 people, your partner, your kids, your parents, your co-workers, and your best friend. What are these people going to say about you at your funeral? When did you die? What are they going to say about you? That gives you a roadmap to what you want from life. And once you do that, now you see the goals, so you re-engineer them. You reverse engineer the goal all the way down to where you're at right now, and you have a roadmap to how to get there. And then I started to see that. And so I started to write essays on it. Like, I'm sitting in a box in the middle of nowhere, just a little speck on the earth, and I'm making an intention to do something. And I intend to get out of this hole early. I intend to teach people what I've already learned and try to make a difference in the world. And it even started to manifest as I'm sitting in the hole, because then I'd go to the shower and have a quick conversation with somebody. They have dual showers and they shower you in groups of 2. And I'd go down there and have a quick shower with somebody, and he's having a problem. And I'm like, oh man, I just read about this. And the whole 15 minutes that we're having our showers, I'm kind of counseling them. And I see that it's making a difference. I'm like, oh man, he's actually getting that. And then I started to write the essays, and I would send them up to the special activities coordinator. And then she sent me one back at some point. I'd say this was probably 6 to 8 months in. She sent me a note back and said, I'm really impressed by the essays that you have. Do you mind if we send them to the local library? I said, not at all. I'll write even more if you'd like. So I started writing topical essays on certain things and sending them out to the library. And I won an award from Manistee, Michigan, from the local public library for one of my essays, which then they started to allow me to rent books from the public library. And that started to come in. And then over a few more months, the special activities director actually came to me with this new program that they have. It's called Thinking for a Change, and said, hey, if you study this course, master this course, write me an essay on it that shows that you have an understanding of it, I will get you out of the hole to teach a class. And as long as you do well, we'll let you out of the hole. And to me, the first thing I thought was, wow, I just manifested that, because I had just told myself a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to get out of the hole early. And now here's my opportunity to do just that. I just manifested that. So to me, the power of my intention, speaking it, believing it, knowing that it's going to happen, just made it happen. And so I did. I started studying the course. I mastered the course. They put me in protective custody to teach the course. And it was life-changing. The class did amazing. I met some amazing people and chose to stay there for another year and a half. After they released me from the hole, I chose to stay there because I saw the difference I was making here and the people that I was meeting. So I stayed there. And when I was released from that, life got bad because I was a gangbanger who stabbed people. And then I went to the hole and I came back and I'm a completely different person. And the gangs don't like that. The gang did not like the fact that I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I'm not your flunky. I'm not your puppet. I'm not. And that got really bad. So, yeah.
How did you, it's actually one of the things that I was going to ask you in terms of once you'd developed yourself, for lack of a better term, when you then get out, when you get your freedom, what happens then?
Well, they expected me to pick up where I left off. And I had sat them down and had a conversation like, listen, it's not me anymore. I want a better life. I want better for myself. So I'm not going to be involved anymore. Well, you know that's not how it works, Sonny. You can't just quit. Well, I am. So, I mean, you guys can do what you got to do about it. And they started to jump me all the time. I mean, I would go use the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning because you have communal bathrooms and lesser security levels. Get jumped 3 o'clock in the morning just using the bathroom. Boom, start getting hit. I was eating lunch once in the chow hall, and it's called a pumpkin heading. It's where they take locks. So I've got some good old scars and dents up on my head, but it's where they take locks and they put them on a sock. And I'm eating lunch, and 4 of them came from 4 different directions and just started, hitting you, beating my head up. And it probably went on for, probably about a year. They kept jumping me all the damn time. And I told them, you got to knock it off, man. If you don't stop, it's going to get bad. And if it did, I eventually had to do some not very happy stuff, but I had to do that because I was forced into that situation where if I want peace in my life, I'm a big believer of the Norse. I follow the Norse pantheons. It's called Asatru, the religion of the Vikings. And there's this thing called Vird or Frith. And Frith is the state of peace in a community through an act of war. It's the way to get to peace through an act of war or conflict. And I seen the manifestation of that in this situation because the only way I was going to get to peace is to engage in war. So a really nasty violent altercation took place. It got the point across. They left me alone. And for the last few years of my bit, I was able to focus on nothing but helping people. And I'm even in touch with a group of guys today that I helped mentor and get out. They're all business owners, homeowners, and they're doing really well in life. So everything that has ever happened, I'm very thankful for.
Good. I mean, thinking when you're describing all that, I feel like a movie of your life could be made based on the drama and how gripping it is. But have you had any thoughts there?
Oh yeah. We're currently in the book writing process.
So you're doing that? I haven't just done spoilers, have I?
No. It's trust me, there's a whole lot more. I've been out for 5.5 years. Life doesn't just get easy for people just because you've gone through all that. I got out in 2016, in August of 2016. I started working demolition in the union in Cleveland, Ohio, and started to grind my way up. From there, I knew that successful people work really, really hard, and that's why they're successful. I knew that I had a passion in life and a goal to attain, and I started working on it immediately. I became a musician. I got signed to a label really quickly because I have a passion for music. I was a rap metal vocalist in a band called Grim Trigger in Cleveland, Ohio. We got signed to Ferocious Records relatively quickly, started headlining shows in different states across the country. And all within 2 years of being out, all this started to happen. So this is a whole new dynamic on my life because I'm trained in self-awareness, transformation, and self-mastery, but I'm also a kid that spent 18 years of his life in prison, and now I'm 35 years old, and I have the adoration of fans all over Ohio at shows that I'm putting on, and that kind of impact on somebody's mind can take you off focus. It can, it can shift you off. And so I lost focus of motivating and helping, and focused on music for quite a while, which if you don't live your intention, life is going to, the world works how we want it to, how we ask it to, how we tell it to. So when my intention was, this is what I'm going to do, everything I wanted manifested. And when I strayed from that path, while I was still enjoying the music life and everything was going good over there, things started to fall apart over here because I wasn't living my intention. And so then after the music, after that stopped, I reassessed, and I'm like, okay, I need to do this. I started going into prisons and talking to inmates and trying to motivate them, working with local law enforcement, working with police officers to try. There's a huge dynamic from the moment a cop arrests somebody. There's a life-changing moment right here that can take place. If the officer is armed with the appropriate mental knowledge and emotional awareness, you can change this person's life as you're arresting them. So you have the ability to see that they're going to continue to be a criminal, or you're going to change their life right here. And so that's something that I love to work with law enforcement on. And I went into a staffing agency to get a job. And I met the owner as I'm in there, the owner of the staffing company, and we sat down and had a very real, authentic, and open and honest conversation. And to this day, he's one of my great friends. His name's Mike Donato. And then he gave me a career on the spot. Like, I want you to come work for my company. And next thing you know, I got $100,000 a year corporate gig with my own office and suits. Like, I manifested that because I always said, this is where I'm going. This is not where I'm going to stay. This is where I'm going to go. And so I took advantage of that opportunity and started helping people get jobs. I was a staffing specialist now. And I saw that opportunity to, okay, I can do job fairs in prisons, and I can cross these two things, getting people jobs and motivating them. So I started to do that, very successful with it. And then COVID hit, which COVID has messed up a lot of people's lives. And I was included because the staffing agencies really took a hit. So I got laid off in February, I think, of 2019 when COVID hit. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? I got to do something. I can't just sit here. And then I saw a reaction video on YouTube, and I'm like, man, I can do that. And so I tried one, and very quickly I blew up fast on YouTube. I got 10,000 subscribers in the first couple of weeks. And I was like, oh crap, this is something. And then over the course of the next 6 months, I built up to like 50,000 subscribers, built a global fan base, started really drilling it in. And the moment you gave me a stage, I started speaking on motivational stuff and self-help and how to help people out. And so I started a show called The Morning Brew and the daily check-ins. I won a show on E360 TV called Holding the Rope. I submitted a video for that. And won one season. And Holding the Rope is all about finding normal, everyday people that have done extraordinary things and spotlighting that. So that experience was amazing for me. We started to really help people. And then my relationship, I realized I was really happy in one spot, but I wasn't happy in my relationship with the woman that I was with. We had just had a son. He was a little over 2 years old. And I can't talk about authenticity and speak about being authentic in receiving your intention in life if I don't live that. And here I am in an unhappy relationship, not being authentic. It's not fair to her. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the kids. So I sat her down one just out of the blue, like, hey, this is over. And she went ballistic. Like, things got broken. Like, well, what is happening? And then it's funny because it was almost 1 year ago today that this happened. It was actually December 12th of last year. And this day, 1 year ago, I was homeless. I had nothing. I had nothing. I had to buy a new car. I was staying at a friend's house in Florida, and I worked my way back. I saw it as an opportunity. A lot of people might look at that as like, oh, my life's in shambles, blah, blah, blah. I saw it as an opportunity to show people what I mean, that you can lose everything. Your life can go to shit, and you can get up and keep moving forward. And now I'm going to show you how to do that because I don't have a pot to piss in. Watch this. And here we are 1 year later. I just moved in yesterday to my new home in Palm Springs, California. It's an amazingly beautiful home. I have an amazingly beautiful partner. We are opening businesses in California, and things are just going as happy and amazing as possible because I was honest with not only myself, but her and everybody around me. And I'm living my intention. I said, I'm not going to take this anymore. And from this moment forward, I will live out my intention. And here we are.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Tell me about your businesses at the moment and your motivation. You're speaking.
Well, when we moved on, so I met my now partner on a podcast, actually. And she was in England, and I just fell in love with her the moment that I saw her. I'm like, and we were in just chaos in our life. She was on the ending of a long marriage that she was unhappy with, and I was freshly single out of that relationship, although I'd been out of that relationship for a long time. We met, we started talking every day, 7-8 hours a day on FaceTime for months, and decided to come to California to live together. And we got here and we're like, okay, we got to create a business. What do? We're not independently wealthy. What can we do here? And then she came up with this idea. She said she had visited a cat cafe in Virginia, and we come to discover in the Coachella Valley in California, there's 2,000 cats. They have a catch, neuter, and release policy here because it's a no-kill zone. They don't want to kill the cats, but the cats migrate here the same reason everybody else does, because it's freaking paradise. So we're both huge animal lovers. I have 2 cats of my own. And she said, let's do a cat cafe. I said, I'm in. And here we go. I just seen this. This is the article that was in the PS I Love You magazine for Frisky Business Palm Springs Cat Cafe. But she also pushed me. She is the founder of Itopia Coaching and Consulting. She designed the entire program. I mastered the program and took over that because I didn't want to see that die, because it was a company that she built in the UK, but coming here to be an American, she couldn't bring that with her. So she had to start her own business over here. And I'm not going to let all her hard work and her vision die. So I mastered the program, and now I've taken the director spot of the company. And we're getting a lot of traction in the Itopia coaching as well. We're making a lot of moves. We're going to seminars. We're going to these luncheons where I'm meeting a lot of people, and we're starting to lock in clients, and we're starting to get that going at the same time, getting the cafe going. We're running into some red tape on both spectrums, as to be expected when starting a new business, but everything is pretty much falling into place like it's supposed to. We didn't change a law. We got an exception for a law in Palm Springs. There's an overnight kenneling law in a commercial district that it's not allowed. And she was given an exception for that because of all the good that she's doing. So a cat cafe, for those who don't know, it's a coffee house that has cats. And we're partnered with the Palm Springs Animal Shelter to provide the cats for us to help get them adopted. The visibility for cats is so much more in a cat cafe, and their chances at adoption are so much better. These cafes, there's 125 in the United States, 12 in California. We're the first and only one in the Coachella Valley. And they average about 1,000 adoptions a year out of these places, which is so great for cats because cats are like therapy animals. And all animals deserve a chance to live. Everything on this planet deserves a shot at life. And we're horrible. We can't go into an animal shelter because we're like, oh, okay, well, we'll take that one. And so we now have 4 cats, and it's going great, man. There's challenges, but we look at challenges like they're opportunities to put everything we've ever learned on display to conquer those challenges. And I've never met somebody that partners with me so well. We hunk down together, or muck down, I guess is what you guys would call it in England. We muck in together. And it's great, man. It's truly incredible when you meet your soulmate who is on the same page as you, and we just work so well together. And it's amazing what the universe will give you when you live in tune with it. It's incredible.
The great answer to the question, and no, I did not know what a cat cafe was, but it's the business is the coffee and the cause is the adoption for the cats, right?
Right, pretty much. So it'll be a big like coffee house, and we'll have this big glass encasing in the middle where the cats are, because you're not allowed to have the cats in the same place that you serve the food. People can take their food and drinks and go in, but we're not allowed to prep or serve them in the same area. So being a glass cager, which works out in case you are allergic to cats, you can sit on the outside to watch them. We're working with the Autism Society to help bring in some autistic kids that can cuddle with cats because they're therapy animals that can really help. Senior nights. We're going to have all kinds of events. It's going to be an amazing thing.
And regarding, did you say Itopia?
It is.
Who's your client? Who's typically giving you money there?
Well, it ranges. We have everybody from corporate CEOs, their employees that are not performing up to par. I have a 10-year-old gangbanger who thinks he's a gangbanger right now. He's 10. His dad is on my softball team. I play on a softball team, a national team here in Palm Springs. And he has a 10-year-old son who wants to be a Crip. So I'm working with him. I have a 16-year-old girl out of San Diego. Her father I work especially well with teenagers in that zone, the 15, 16, 17-year-old zone, because that's where my life drastically changed. And so I can relate to that really well. And I think that they can relate to me because we both have been there. And I think it's difficult when you have book trained psychologists or psychiatrists or even motivational speakers or life coaches or mindset coaches, whatever, who have your wisdom and knowledge comes from reading these books and not actually living it. So it's the same thing with Alcoholics Anonymous for me. When you have, some 24-year-old kid up leading the Alcoholics Anonymous trying to teach people, and it's like, dude, you've never had a drinking problem a day in your life. How can you relate to these alcoholics? You can't. And it's the same thing with these kids. Most of these kids aren't going to listen to somebody in a suit that got a Harvard education coming in trying to tell them the problems that they're having in life and how to deal with it. But when they see, I was you once and went through the same shit, they can relate to that. And I think it's more effective that way.
Is there anything that I should have asked you today?
What am I drinking in my cup? You'd be surprised to learn that it's not English tea, but no, I think you probably nailed all of it, man. It's pretty good.
Sonny, what are your goals?
To change the world, man. Honestly, that I want to leave an immortal legacy. I want people to look back at my life and say, that dude endured a lot of shit simply to change a lot of people's lives. You know, my goal in life is to leave that legacy. I want to change as many people's lives as possible. I want to give people the opportunity to enjoy their best life and live the life of their dreams. But we got a lot of goals. I want to open businesses. I want to be financially secure for my kids, for as many people as we can help. And yeah, I want to live out my days with my partner here in Palm Springs. That's a goal. So,
well, thank you so much for telling your story, and being authentic is something that comes through. So, and I wish you all the best, and congratulations on everything you're doing. So well done.
Thank you so much, man. If you want to follow more, you can check us out at Frisky Business Palms or friskybusinesscatcafe.com. Or you can also go to sonnyandclaire.com and follow all that. But we're on all the social media platforms. You guys can find all at Sonny Von Cleveland anywhere, itopiacoaching.com. So we have the website there too. Follow us anywhere, connect, change your life.
I'll do that. Sonny, thank you very much.
Thomas, I appreciate you, my friend. Have a beautiful day.